So, major news in the world economy, right? China made a surplus of more than $1 trillion, right, in export. For the first time in history, no other country has ever made this before, not even the United States. Making $1 trillion, in export is already amazing. But the most important thing to mention here is that this year, the export of China to the United States was reduced at more than 29 to 30%. Usually, they make more money exporting to the United States. But Donald Trump came this year and promising that he was going to make China pay more money, right? That's why he put the tariffs. At first, when Donald Trump came to power, he surprised China with that stuff. He put tariffs on China because, he, in his campaign, he always talked about tariffs. You need to tariff China and all of that when, he's saying that China is stealing from the United States, when in reality, it is major companies that ship their jobs to China, right? They're manufacturing to China because they wanted to pay less and charge the American people more money. And with that, China, patiently learned and developed its own system, right? And of course, they learned from Western technology. And so when Donald Trump came, he said, no, the way to fix that problem is to put tariffs on China. China was surprised the first time, right? Because, of course, everybody was surprised with Trump. Trump, he's unpredictable. We've never seen a president like this before. Things have always just worked well. And Trump just came and changed everything. So China, instead of complaining, they started looking for alternatives. They thought about it. They said, look, we know that our major trading partner is the U.S. Since the U.S. is becoming too arrogant, it's very important that we find other partners so that, any other president that comes would not surprise us this way. Throughout the years of Donald Trump, they started working on it. When Donald Trump left, Joe Biden came, they were working on it. And then Donald Trump comes back and he wants to do the same thing again. And this time China said, look, we're prepared. He put tariffs, China put tariffs. And we all know how that went. And of course, Donald Trump was surprised. As if this wasn't worse, China was so prepared to the point where, even with the tariffs, all of that, we kept hearing, oh, yes, Donald Trump really hit China. And the Chinese economy has slowed down. They are doing bad this year and all of that. And then all of a sudden we come in December and China comes with its numbers and say they made more than $1 trillion of surplus in export. And after reducing their export to the United States at 30%, they made way more money than when they usually export on a normal base to the United States. And that sent a clear message to the Trump administration that his strategy of tariffs has failed miserably. Instead, the difference in the United States is to backfire on the US. Jobs numbers are down. You have more unemployment in the United States. Prices are going up. They cannot even sell to China anymore. We heard about the soybeans, where they had to go beg China for the soybeans. Everything backfired on the US. So this blow comes where the message goes clearly to the United States that China doesn't have to sell to the United States in order for them to make money. And that is extremely important. It means that the hegemony of the United States is dead. So when they come out and tell you, oh, well, Chinese economy is bad, I tell you all the time, man, the mainstream propaganda is lying all the time. The only truth they say is when they say their name. Their name is the only truth that come out. That's it. Everything else that come out of their mouth, you have to investigate. There's a major difference between the economic system of China and the West, specifically the United States, that has dominated all these years with the unipolar world. Their economic system is only to benefit the US. And of course, they're puppets like like Europe. If you want to make money during this economy, you have to travel to the West. That's why we've all grown up knowing that, hey, look, we want to go to Europe, we want to go to the United States and all that stuff because, we knew that was paradise. Many people, right, in Africa and other continents, they're like, when I go to the United States or when I go to Germany, when I go to France and all that, as soon as I get there, I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to build a house. I'm going to build a business and all of that stuff. And when you get to those countries, right? What happened? You enter the system of work, you start working, you make money, and you ended up spending most of your money right there in those countries. Most of those people who say they were going to build big houses, more than 90% don't usually do it. And even when they do it, the houses are empty. They have to stay in the West, right, to continue to work. Because if they don't work, they're going to go live in a house without any money in their countries. So they are building empty houses where they can only visit during vacation very quickly and then come back. And those people who are rich in Africa, right, were either people who are working directly with major companies in the United States, right, or governments, right, puppet governments, dictators that are being propped by the West, right? The United States will give money to a president and all that, and the president will sell his entire country. And then the US will still be the same one to say, oh, look, he's a dictator, right? They don't have democracy in Africa. Same thing in Europe. This is what France has been doing. They prop up countries, a lot of, their colonies in Africa, they force them to use the franc, they put dictators in power, and then will tell you that those countries don't have any democracy. And then they send their military soldiers, right? They open military camps in those countries to protect their investment. They don't want those countries to be built very nicely. You probably go to one of those African countries and you will see white neighborhoods, right? Neighborhoods of white rich people. Only their neighborhoods is well built. The streets are nice. The rest of the country is a jungle, right? Why? Because they need to be able to take the natural resources without any problem. So those countries must not be as beautiful as Western countries. They need to stay jungle so that they can continue to take the wealth whenever they want to, however they want to, at the price that they want to, and go build in their countries. That is the system that the West put in place in a unipolar world. That is why many third world countries, and they give them the name themselves. They say they are third world countries, meaning that they are poor countries. They don't have infrastructure, they don't have good healthcare, they don't have whatever. They themselves ensuring that, right, the dictators that they have put in place in Africa and Asia and all those countries will not have all those nice stuff. That is so that only their countries can prosper. And so they want people to, migrate to their country so that they can work as slaves. The Chinese economic system is totally different. The way China thought about it is that if we can enrich more countries, if we can build roads, infrastructures in those countries, we can, give them opportunities to have beautiful countries with jobs. We can be able to sell to them and make money because China is the manufacturing country of the world. They want to sell to people. They want to do business. They understand that the more rich countries we have in the world, the more money they make. That's their system. So that's why they don't criticize your government. They'll come up there, you have a dictator, you have somebody who took power by coup d'etat. They don't care. They're like, look, we just came for business. Allow us to build your roads. Allow us to give you more technologies, right? They have the best technology today, the best AI, the best, solar panels, you name it, right? And so not only that, they're giving opportunities for other countries to buy that technology, but they are also selling it cheap. That is their strategy. So China doesn't necessarily want you to come live in their country. No, come and visit. Come and see how the country is built, but go invest in your country. Go to your villages. Go put lights, electricity, and all that stuff. That is the message of China. Because the more we invest in our countries, right, in our so-called third world countries and all of that, the more people become rich, the more we do not have to count on traveling to the West to go make money. What China has done is so important because it sent a message that today there are many countries outside of the West where you can make a lot of money. If China can make this type of money just with export, without counting so much on the US, it is a good news and clearly showing to us that a new multipolar world is truly being born.